What's up? It's your boy ET. Look, if you're looking to or you got to raise the bar on your marriage, you gotta click the link and get into Married and the Crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, this coaching is gonna take your relationship to another level. Now look, you already know you need to raise the bar. You know that already. So stop thinking or overthinking. Click that link, and Marriage and the Crazy is gonna take you and your spouse to marital bliss. Now you know. Click the button. Let's go.
That's really good. And you mentioned the word sacrifice, and I'd love to hear. First, how many years have you been married?
We'll be going on four years. So in February, it'll be 4 years.
Wait. How'd y'all get all this wisdom in these 4 years? Because we were
a single day.
Yeah, year 4 for us was very pivotal.
That was the year she asked for a divorce.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, and so like a lot of our discernment came after that.
I hear you.
Right.
Well, a lot of my discernment came after that, and it was one of those things where we had applied so much duct tape and rubber bands and glue and bubble gum to our marriage that because it was more about the individual things that we've already discussed here. There was drama, with me getting stabbed. There's so many things that took place, but there was a lot of sacrifice that came after the fact. That part of that discernment, and I think the audience would love to hear, like, what are some of the things that you've had to overcome in order to get to where you are today as a couple? If there were anything.
For me, some relationships weren't able to come along. And that was a huge thing as far as like friendships, a lot of single friends. I had to sacrifice. Now, when we got married, I was at my church for 13 years. I had a music school. I had started my counseling business. And then we had to relocate when we got married. So like everything that I knew as familiar,
I rooted her all up.
Was uprooted to a new place.
Yeah.
And honestly, I was depressed for a season because everything that was familiar to me was now like it's this text is coming to mind when God told Abraham to leave his family and go to a place that I will show you. It's a place you haven't been before. And so you're going on this journey to a place, you're leaving everything that you know as familiar. And so that process in our marriage was really hard. I'm at a new church, the people that I'm around are not there. And it was a detoxing period for me that I went through, only to get to a church that I love. And sometimes, and I talked about that season of isolation, sometimes we're so unwilling to let go of the old or the familiar. But sometimes it's necessary for God to get us something even better. But because we don't know what to expect, we want to hold on to what we know. Right. But trusting and letting go to receive something new, something better, something greater is so important. So I had to go through that process in our marriage, and it was, even as a woman of faith, it was hard. But I'm grateful that I was able to come through that process, and it was worth the sacrifice.
Yeah, that's good. For me, first of all, my wife is very supportive in a lot of the things I do. And so I appreciate that because I'm still able to do many things like with the podcast and all these other things where as a mom, I'm working and she's with the baby, come home and she allows me to have that space. So definitely appreciative of that. Some of the sacrifices, it wasn't sacrifice, it was things I needed to remove from my life. And she helped me with that. Right. So even like because you can't live a double-minded life or anything like that. And there were still some things that I was tolerating that was from my past life that I had to really cut out completely. And so it's not really a sacrifice. I'm glad I did that because it is now I'm able to grow into the man that God intended me to be. So yeah, it's just growing, growth. And so for me, I don't see it as sacrifice. I just see it as, uh, just this is the way it needs to be. So
that willingness is so important. You can't be selfish, self-seeking, unwilling, arrogant. I think in a relationship, it takes a level of humility, compassion, understanding, and being okay of not having all the answers.
Facts.
Trusting that ambiguous
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
And having faith is so important because
Yes.
I don't know how I would do it if I didn't have my faith to hold on to.
Yes. Same here.
And in our relationship, I think that's the core that holds us together is our faith. And everything else just stems from that. So that willingness, though, just to be willing to let go of something you love.
And I want to touch on that a little bit too, and expand a little bit on that because, my wife's ordained pastor, right? She was in her church for many years.
You telling all about this,
right? Hey, I'm just because I want to hit on something like that I think is important because I was in the church, but I didn't grow up in it, right? Like, so, growing up in the streets. And I think that it's important because there might be people listening to this right now. And at first I was a little intimidated from that. Like, I'm like, we would pray and listen to scriptures in the beginning when we started dating. And I was like, ooh, this woman, I was like, my God, this woman can pray. Scriptures, my wife was like, she devoted a lot of years into it. And so at first I was a little nervous, but my faith was to trust the Lord that this is my wife, and in areas that I might be weak in, she's strong, and that's why it's beauty to just come together. So I wanted to touch, like, share that because it's important for those that are dating, and they might look at it like, oh, I need to have the one up all the time, and that's not the case. And when you become one, you two become a powerful couple. Right. Not that, oh, that's her strength and these are my weaknesses. Right. It's like, no, we together can't stop us. So,
right. And my relationship with God is my relationship with God, and it's not his need to look like a certain way. I didn't have that type of mind frame. It's okay that he has his own individual style or whatever. You be you, as long as you have that connection and that whatever it looks like, it's not my business. So I wasn't trying to judge or try to make shape or form his relationship. That's between him and God. And so I was okay. The most important thing is that he has that relationship, with God. So.
For sure.
I'm sorry, keep jumping in. I like how what you said, Lo, about that power couple. We have to be mindful of what we're saying is power as far as being a couple. We society tends to, that we'll name a power couple, that power couple because they have the big house or because they have the cars or maybe they own a business or whatever it is. But it's like, but where's your power coming from? We might have a power couple right next door living in the 2-bedroom 1-bath house, or in an apartment or something. So we need to be mindful of what we're attaching power to. So that thank you. That was the word. Yeah.
Well, I think that always reminds me that when we talk about resources that we have available to us, we have to remember that we're a resource, but what is your source?
Yeah.
God needs to be that source, that power that we're tapping into so we can be a resource, the throughput for the blessings that God provides us. But I want to touch on a couple of things that both of you said earlier. And I think it's very cool because Lo, you had mentioned something to the effect of she was so strong in her walk and what she was doing in her relationship over years of building that you had to, you didn't say the word, but I was going to, it reminded me of a yield.
Mm.
And it's okay if it's like, okay, yeah, she's strong in this area. And I think that, so for those of you that are listening, if you have new listeners, Married into Crazy, crazy is an acronym, right? It stands for compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. I think that the one thing that is probably the most difficult that when we talk to these different couples is the yielding part, knowing when to yield to the other. And it's not about a power play. It's about recognizing where the strength may lie that's going to benefit the bond, the union. And I love how you just kind of naturally said, okay, you know what? That's not my forte. So let me go ahead and let you lead. Okay, lead this prayer, babe.
Right.
You know, and being okay with it. Because the male psyche, more times than not, and again, I hate to generalize, but I think that many of the men that we coach and that we've talked to, there's some, particularly about a Black man, there's something about us relinquishing control in some area. Like we're supposed to lead whatever. The man's supposed to do this. The man's supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different ways to lead.
That's right.
You know, and the greatest way to learn how to lead is to learn how to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And it does, and gender is not a part of that. It doesn't matter.
Right.
I just commend you. I saw some really powerful, or heard some very powerful things that you were saying that even us going on 26, going on 26 years.
I'm like, you better know.
I thought we can learn from each other, right?
Yeah.
And I truly appreciate that.
No, for sure.
You know, I'm curious if there was, even at year 4, when is your anniversary?
February 9th.
That's coming up. Okay.
Yeah.
So year 5 is approaching.
Mm-hmm.
If there was advice that you would give, you know, well, let me put it this way. When year 10 comes around and the Wilders are looking back at year 5 Wilders, what is that you want to be able to look back retrospectively and say, I am so glad they did this, or that we learned this early?
That's a great question. You want me to take the lead? I would say trusting the opportunities in front of us, because even moving to Atlanta, we were in Florida. This move wasn't easy. We had an opportunity to move here, I think our first year in the marriage or second, and it just wasn't time. And we both felt that. So really just trusting the opportunities and making sure that we communicate together, that we're on the same page. Communication is going to be the key to any marriage. And people say that like it's cliche, but it's so true. You know, being able to communicate, you know, where we are, where we're trying to go. And again, when we see these opportunities, because career-wise, like she had to, as a mother, you know, she's in a season of motherhood, and I'm still striving and going after, you know, some of the career moves that I'm making, but we had to communicate those things. And I had to make sure that she was on board with that. And I think that this move that we made to Atlanta blessed us, and it would definitely, you know, looking back, we're going to see that taking this opportunity and this chance is going to set us up for our future. So, you know, I would say that would be, you know, something that I look back and see in year 5.
That's good. In year 10, looking back, I would say to myself, a scripture comes to mind. I'm sorry. That's how I process things sometimes. He makes everything beautiful in his time. Oftentimes we feel time is working against us and not for us. And I thought about, because we're in the season of Christmas, the birth of Christ, when the answer came in the form of a baby in a manger. Looking at it, it may seem insignificant, but over time, that answer evolves and grows, and it's the Savior that is needed. But it's that womb of time that it matriculates and matures and finds favor in the stature of God and man. And so I'm thinking 10 years from now, understanding that time is really working for you, and not against you. And so that would be my response.
Let me just tell you how much I appreciate that answer, because I'm currently in school for my master's, and I vacillate between like, oh, did I wait too long? In 15 years, am I still going to want to work? Did I do the right thing? You know, and so I'm just gonna say thank you, doctor. Well, just for the perspective, because you hear that a lot, like, you know, as long as you're doing something, being in motion, and it's never too late, as long as you're still breathing, you still have dreams, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's all fine and that's all good. But when you sit back and you look at Father Time, I'm like, you know, did I miss it? Am I too late? Am I, you know? So I'm just gonna just thank you right now for that, because that was just a word for me to say quit tripping and continue to do your. Because every other day I'm like, I'm not going back to school. I'm quitting. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
This is beautiful. So how old is the baby?
2. Just turned 2 last month.
Yeah, going on 10.
Got one cooking in the oven.
Oh, you got to break. She breaking the news of the podcast.
Oh,
News.
Breaking news. What exclusive?
I had sound effects. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, we got one, man. I didn't tell the group yet, but now, hey, it's out.
Surprise.
This don't come out till, so this won't happen until mid-January.
Okay. So cool,
that's
cool.
So you're allowing him time. I won't tell you a secret. You got time to tell it. Maybe too.
Yeah.
June.
Oh wow.
June, baby. June. Yep. So yeah, two with one on the way, and yeah, except well, a 2-year-old.
Oh, okay.
A 2-year-old, not 2. Yeah.
He was like, oh, there's all kinds of breaking news.
Yeah.
Lord,
No,
I did not know.
Exactly.
This is beautiful. You know, so young couple, young in age when it comes to the marriage, but long in wisdom.
I said very mature and wise in the relationship.
And another on the way. So what is that like to be learning each other and also having, you know, 2-year-old in the midst, and making that transition from, like you talked about earlier, from singlehood to being a spouse to becoming a parent, and still managing all these different facets of the identity that God has given you both individually and as a couple.
It's a lot.
For sure.
It's a lot. I'm like, Lord, my hands are full with just my 2-year-old. My 2-year-old is very clingy. He's still like a little baby. And I'm like, I can't imagine another one. So ready or not, I don't know if you ever really is ready, right? So I'm like, ready or not, another one's coming. So just manage to the best of my ability. That's all. It's a lot. Okay, that's all I can say. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I have a very supportive husband. We don't have like a traditional mindset. Oh, you're the woman, you do this, you do that, you're supposed to do this. I'm the man, I just bring in the bacon. And no, he helps out, he washes, you know, well, honey, what do you need done? So because he's so supportive, you know, it's like, okay, I'll get the baby tonight, I'll bathe him, get it ready. So because he's so hands-on in the home, it makes it easier. And so that helps tremendously. It helps a lot. So thank you for being a very supportive hubby.
Most definitely. I would say for me, I'm always doing so many things that I'm like, we can figure it out, right? Like it is a lot, but at the end of the day too, it's worth it. You know, it's definitely going to be worth it. So, and it's just adjusting. There's some more things that we would have to make sure that we do. Like if I have to wake up I remember a few weeks ago, now that my son is more active than 6 months ago or 9 months ago when I wrote out my podcast, I did an episode at 5 a.m, you know, with somebody. So it's really just adjusting and making that sacrifice, and so when you have your goals written down and you know what you want to achieve, sometimes it may not get there. I think she talked about time being on your side. When I was younger and single, it was always a deadline. Like if I didn't get this done by this time, I failed, right? It was always life. I don't know why I put that much pressure on myself. But now I'm like, you know what? Okay, adjust. And maybe it'll take 3 more months, and that's fine. Like who the heck is counting, and it's really not that big of a deal. But again, making sure that for me, and we talk about the 5 pillars in our King's Accountability Group, but making sure our faith, our family, finance, fitness, and our future is all in alignment. To me, if I'm taking care of all of those things, everything else will fall into place. So, and I appreciate my wife. This woman, she was dealing with the newborn, working on her PhD. And I just commend her, and she inspires me and motivates me, and to keep on going. So yeah, if I gotta, I don't cook as much as I should, but I'm starving by the time I get home with this Atlanta traffic. But it definitely, cleaning, taking care of whatever we gotta do. I'm gonna make sure I do that. Yeah.
Love it.
That's awesome. It's about just 2 people coming together, right, and filling in the gaps.
Yeah.
Being able to assess what's needed and then standing in the gap where needed. And it's not like this is your assigned gap.
Right. Yeah.
And I know that she wishes I would do more.
I'm like, are you listening? No.
But it really is about that assessment and being able to change, because you know what you look like now at year 4 going into year 5 will be markedly different than what you look like at year 8.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and so on. But that's that growth. We're supposed to be different.
right.
I mean, I take a lot of cues from our biology, the way God designed us. I mean, we're shedding skin every single day.
Right.
So if we're shedding skin on a daily basis, it's just like new skins when it comes to the wines. You can't place new wine in old skin. And the things that God has for us in our relationship requires it to be in our new skin as well, that we're developing from a marital standpoint.
Yeah. That's good, man.
Yeah.
I love sitting here talking with y'all.
Yeah, man. I wish you wasn't so far, man. We gotta take a California trip.
Well, you know what?
Come on.
Our bad, because we were in the ATL in August. Was it August?
It was May.
Was it May? Okay.
Unless he was there with his other family. So,
No, we went out there for the podcast conference.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
So we'll be out.
Now we're planning to get back into Florida next year. So right now I got a up for interviewing for a promotion. So hopefully,
prayers up.
Yeah, prayers going up. But they need to just make that decision because I'm ready. So if that's the case, we're looking at moving to Tampa, Florida. So we'll see. By the time this podcast rolls out, maybe that announcement would happen. We'll see.
Okay, stay tuned. But so you mentioned your podcast a couple of times, and so what I want to do is, how can people support you? How can people support? Well,
okay. Can you tell us what is your podcast about?
Yeah.
So the podcast Desire to Dream. You can watch it on YouTube, on a YouTube channel. Low Inspires. You can go on to Apple, Spotify, Anchor, all the different platforms. The podcast is for, I had you all on there, but it's to bring on people who are living out their purpose and sharing their journey, right? Because there's so many people, again, trying to figure it out. And I want to bring on others who have gotten it done. They figured what they needed to do. So sharing that journey would inspire, encourage, and motivate others to keep on going through it, and also to educate them on certain things. Like we talked about the assessment. There was a lot of people after that episode was like, man, what do I need to do? Or what is that about? And so it's really to just educate and motivate others to go out there and live out their purpose and be the best version of themselves. So definitely can check it out. It airs every Tuesday on all those different platforms. So I appreciate that.
Well, I know that you're also a speaker. You mentioned Game Changers, which I know recently.
Yes, sir.
And it's now next level speaking, right? With like Inky
Yeah,
Thomas.
ET, Jeremy, and Inky. Yeah, they definitely. So yeah, got certified through Game Changers. Was the last cohort of Game Changers, but now they've merged with Next Level. But I've been speaking for many years for free, and I was really trying to figure out, okay, how can I monetize this thing, because I've seen people do it and to do it as a profession. And so when we talk about freedom, we talk about future, I want to be able to be home with my wife, and so speaking would give us another passive income, something that comes in. So I wanted to figure out, okay, how can I package it, so that I can help impact others, but also monetize it. And so I went through that process, which was great, because now I have that skill set.
And I see on social media that you got these speaking engagements, and I want to make it known that Lo is available.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can email me at loinspires@gmail. Currently working on the website with one of our brothers from CAG. And so next year I've got plenty of speaking engagements coming up here in the next few weeks, but definitely available. Definitely available. You can send me an email, reach out.
Nice.
And Sharmaine, so
Yes.
you're a mental health, doctor. Wow. Let me say that. I always want to recognize that's a big deal. And I appreciate, Lo, that you brought that up, because that's you like, babe, you earned
Yeah.
that. You did
Yeah,
that.
for
We all
sure.
sacrificed for this, doctor. And so you may have walked across the stage, but I was right there with you.
That's right.
So when you think about like mental health, how prevalent is that going into like a marriage, the mind state, how it affects? I think so many people don't really understand what mental health is really about.
Yes, that's a good question. First, mental health is health. Why we, separate the mental health from our body health, physical health, I'm not sure why. We have a doctor for every part of our body. We get checkups on a regular basis. Why we omit our minds, which is so important, because as the mind think, the body follows.
Mhm.
So I think the stigma is definitely something that needs to be addressed. We need to have more topics, more dialogue about mental health, because mental health is health, first of all. But it's very important as an individual, as living just day to day, life to life. So very essential going to marriage. But to answer your question, I think it's important to take, I talked about it in the beginning, self-assessment. How are you functioning day to day as an individual? Sometimes we use relationships to try to fix ourselves. We're looking for a person to fix something, a void that's going on the inside. And that's not fair. That's not that person's responsibility or job. Another person can never feel that void or emptiness or whatever you're going through emotionally on the inside. That's your responsibility. Yeah, that's your job. So I think we need to, in our culture, remove the negative stigma for receiving services, being able to talk to someone if there is something going on with you. If you're looking to alcohol or looking to substances to pick yourself up to function, something is wrong. That's an indicator that something is going on. And so during that self-assessment, taking self-inventory, looking at the caliber of people around you, you could kind of get a sense of what's going on in your life, and talking to someone about it, not trying to use alcohol or sex or relationships to try to fill that emptiness or fill that void. You have to be whole as a person. You have to be whole as an individual. You have to love yourself in a healthy way. If you're loving yourself in a toxic way, yes, other people are going to love you in a toxic way. And sometimes we could normalize toxic behaviors. That becomes normal to us. So then we have to unlearn that. I know I'm throwing a lot out. So let
No,
me.
come on.
Speaking my language. No, speaking my
So
language.
it's important. Let me just make it simple and break it down. It's important first to really, before you talk about relationships, before you talk about marriage, it's first important to know yourself and to love yourself and to be honest with yourself. If there's something going on, you're not happy with yourself, you're not happy being alone, you're crying yourself to sleep, you're dependent upon certain substances, you need sex to feel love. Those are indicators that something is going on inside. And let me say this, because oftentimes as adults, it's rooted to something that happened in our childhood. And so if there were certain dysfunctions, certain incidents that happened in our childhood, maybe we never addressed it and we're still stuck there functioning as adults. And so that's something that needs to be addressed, identified, acknowledged, and worked through and processed with the professional. And it's okay. I'm a firm believer that every person should have a mental health counselor or someone to talk to. In the multitude of counselors, there is safety. So even if it may not be a some may need professional, but even if it's an outlet where you have a person of substance, a person of wisdom to talk through, that is needed and necessary.
That's good.
And that's why they are a power couple.
Amen.
I'm just gonna say that.
Amen.
That's power right there.
Dr. Wilder brought it. So, so Dr. Wilder, are you practicing in private practice? Or are you in a group?
Right now, I'm not private practice. Right now, I do speaking engagements here and there. I might get pulled here and there, but right now, I'm just a wife and a mother.
Yes,
I was gonna say, where's that just?
There's no just in
Yeah. I try to tell her that all the time. Like that job is a lot harder.
It is a lot.
Amen.
Yeah.
Hey, let's keep it real.
So say
the very first no. This time I'm gonna butt in. No. Let's keep it real, right? So if you go back to Genesis, the very first institution that was established was that of husband and wife. There is no just.
at all.
It is the primary. It is the alpha of relationships. Well, the alpha of relationships was
Being a
God
wife.
and man.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But the very first thing that was implemented as far as an institution God was husband and wife. So it's never just, oh, that's just my husband, or that's just no.
Yeah.
So remember that.
Absolutely right.
That's right. That's good.
Absolutely.
That's a heavy load, you know. And I feel like, unfortunately, a lot of society has gotten away from the responsibility, the duties, and the weight, you know, not taking anything away from the men, but the weight of being a wife and a mother. Because being a wife by itself, that's a full-time job plus some overtime, you know. When you add taking care of another person too, I'm gonna need triple pay for that.
Taking care of another person. You mean like a child? Or
like a child? Well, no, it's already overtime with y'all. I'm just saying. Y'all your own, you know, that's overtime by itself. We need triple time. So I'm placing subtle hints right now, okay?
Yeah.
The game, I still need triple time. So
very true.
You are taking care of those that are most important to you. You know, that's a big responsibility. Because let's keep it real. Whenever something goes wrong, who's his mom? Where's his mother at? You know, those are the things that there's so much blame is placed on the shoulders of the mom.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, not ever taking anything away from the men, but it seems like it's always the mother. So you're doing a phenomenal job, and you got one up because you'd be like, okay, well, something going on with you. You know what I'm saying? So awesome.
We're going to maintain this theme of keeping it real. Let's be all the way real. It's not just Mom, it's babe.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Where's my, where's my keys, babe? In between that, Mom, did you buy, babe? Did you?
Yeah,
Being honest.
yeah.
Well, she's sitting there looking at us all crazy. We're all like, what's wrong?
Wow, what's wrong with
Mom tripping. I know your mother.
Wait, so I just want to share this real quick. So everyone was home. I went to the office. Everyone else was at home. I came home and like within 10 minutes, all three of them and at separate times was like, what's for dinner? Oh, there's no dinner. Where's the food at? I'm like, can I just come home from work? What y'all doing here? Oh, I was doing, everyone has something that they said or they did. I was like, well, I guess we're eating air for dinner tonight. Yeah, that's a big responsibility, We are the first person to look to maintain whatever craziness we have going on at the house. So yeah, it's never
Shout
just.
outs to all the mothers.
All the wives too, yes.
Yeah.
And look, folks, so you see that this power couple, the Wilders, they're both speakers. And Lo has actually got this podcast as well. There's going to be links in the show notes that's going to be able to take you over to the podcast. And we're just asking that you support this couple because this couple is supporting God. They're a godly couple. They're a group that is actually out there making themselves available for you to help you in a variety of different areas, so let's continue to support. And again, building your iron tribe. This is definitely a couple that you want to include, even if it's virtually, into your iron tribe to help you make sure that your relationship is going to continue to flourish and grow to that next level.
So our last question that we'd like to ask before we go. So like Levy stated earlier, CRAZY is an acronym. It stands for compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. So what each individually, what is of those five, what one do you have I'll say, what is your greatest challenge? Which one gives you the greatest challenge?
Repeat the acronym again.
Compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding.
I would say the reason I'm saying real in the sense where I can be maybe too forthcoming, the filter, and maybe I can package it differently. So I'm working on my approach on how I communicate certain things. So that real aspect in that sense is something that I'm currently working through because I just say it how it is. And so maybe just packaging it differently, adding a little bit more compassion to what it is I'm saying and not just being so blunt. Yeah.
I agree.
Man, I would say for me it's again it's the yielding because I go out every day and work and then I'm like I got the podcast or I'm doing this and just making like I try, I guess, and we hate that word, but being more intentional in 2023 so that I can give my wife space and time and opportunity for her just to do what she needs to do. And I just need to encourage that a little bit more in 23. So that's something that I can work on for sure.
Well, hey, I love both of your answers. It's very transparent and we appreciate that. So we want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be on our show. We appreciate
and giving us the opportunity for the breaking news. You heard
it first. You heard it here first, folks.
Here first. Baby Wilder coming into the world.
And listen, it was an honor. I definitely appreciate it. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. The enemy tried, even the other day, wiping our internet out. We were like, what? And it was freezing. But we got guests here and we're like, you got to be kidding me. But I thank you all for allowing us to be on, and it was good for my wife to meet you too. So
my twin.
Well, like we always say, we appreciate you. We love what you're doing, what you stand for, and we commend you. And we wish you much prosperity and God's continued favor over your ministry, because it is a ministry.
That's right.
Yeah, as you continue to move forward. So, like we always say, until the next time,
Be blessed.
all right, bye.
All right.